आज के इस एक्सप्लेनर में चलिए समझते हैं हाउ द वर्ल्ड अराउंड अस एक्चुअली फंक्शंस. Welcome everyone. Today we are diving straight into something that we are literally all a part of, but honestly, we rarely stop to actually analyze it. We're talking about human society.
Think about it for a second. लोग शहरों और गांव में क्यों बसते हैं? Why do some of us live in super crowded cities while others live in these scattered, quiet villages? Why do communities just a few miles apart speak completely different languages? These things don't just happen by chance. There's no random roll of the dice here. They're the result of incredibly deep, interconnected systems. And cracking the code on those exact systems is what social science is all about.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to cover society and everyday life, touch upon ancient Indian knowledge traditions, break down the 4 core disciplines, look at evidence from the past, and finally, wrap up with exactly why social science matters to you.
All right, let's dive into part 1, society in everyday life.
It's so easy to think of society as this grand, super abstract concept you only read about in textbooks, but it's actually happening right in front of you, 24/7. Our world is this massive interconnected web that stretches from raw nature and farms all the way to industrial factories and modern megacities. I mean, just think about your morning routine for a second. You wake up in a house built with materials sourced from who knows where. The food on your plate, it was planted, harvested, processed, and transported by hundreds of different people before you even took a bite. The electricity powering your fan or charging your phone right now, it's coming from a distant power station through an incredibly massive network. Ye sab ek bahut hi vishal or interconnected web ka hissa hai. Absolutely everything in our daily lives is shaped by this environment and the economic activities built around it.
Moving right along to Section 2, Ancient Indian Knowledge Traditions.
Now, the really fascinating part here is that questioning our place in this giant web, that's not some modern invention. Long before subjects like physics or economics formally existed, early thinkers right here in India valued deep observation and logical reasoning. We see this brilliantly in 2 foundational concepts. First up, the Panchamahabhutas, the 5 great elements of earth, water, fire, air, and space. This was such a brilliant early attempt to understand the natural world as one totally interconnected system where human life is just one tiny embedded part. It completely helps explain how our environment dictates everything from where we build our homes to what we eat. And then we have Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which beautifully translates to the world is one family. Yeh vichar hame sikhata hai कि human society's boundaries के पार भी एक दूसरे से जुड़ी हुई हैं. We are all deeply connected. And guess what? This interconnected thinking wasn't just for philosophy, it applied heavily to governance too. Take the Arthashastra, composed around 2300 years ago by Kautilya. It didn't just put politics in a silo, it actually linked administration, taxation, and economic management straight to dharma, meaning moral duty and public welfare. They believed true power was literally a responsibility to the people. So this kind of systematic thinking about society, it has an incredibly long and rich history in India.
Okay, let's look at Section 3, the 4 core disciplines.
To actually make sense of all this massive complexity today, we need some specific tools to shift our perspective from the micro to the macro. Human society is just way too complex for any single subject to explain it all. Think about a drought, right? It hits the environment, the economy, government policy, and causes social migration, all at the exact same time. That is exactly why we use the Big 4. We've got geography, which studies the earth and its people, history, examining the human past, political science, analyzing governance and power, and economics, which explores our resources and needs. Hard discipline alag sawal पूछती है, पर एक साथ मिलकर ये हमें एक complete picture देती है. Let's see how these actually look in practice.
A perfect example of geography in action is the NCERT's School Bhuvan portal. See, geography isn't just about blindly memorizing maps anymore, it's about deeply understanding the location and distribution of everything around us, and actually utilizing geospatial technologies. With modern tools like this, you can literally map out your own village or city online. It helps us figure out where things are located, why they're found there, and how different places affect one another over time. It's totally a game changer.
Now let's compare 2 of the other pillars, political science and economics. Political science definitely isn't just about politicians arguing in the Capitol. It's about how power is shared and regulated at every single level. For example, India's Panchayati Raj system is a perfect embodiment of grassroots democracy, giving everyday citizens a direct voice in their local village planning. On the flip side, economics focuses heavily on how we use our limited resources. Right after independence, India faced massive, unprecedented challenges to rebuild its economy. Today, economics is all about tracking sustainable growth, reducing poverty, and understanding how big decisions shape your everyday life, literally from the jobs people do to the prices of the food we buy. राजनीति और अर्थव्यवस्था दोनों सीधे हमारी जिंदगी पर असर डालते हैं.
This brings us to Section 4, Evidence from the Past.
So you might be wondering, how do we actually know all of this? How do we know what happened thousands of years ago to shape these systems we live in today? Well, historians kind of work like detectives. They rely on different clues. Take literary sources, for example, like a beautifully preserved manuscript of the Samaveda. Written records, travelogues, correspondence, these offer a literal window into the thoughts and cultural values of early societies. But words aren't our only clues. We also have archaeological sources, like terracotta figurines from the Sindhu-Sarasvati civilization. These material remains can actually be scientifically tested using modern tools, like carbon-14 dating, giving us hard, empirical evidence of how people actually lived, the structures they built, and what they truly valued.
And honestly, sometimes the absolute smallest items reveal the most information. Take an incredibly detailed ancient coin, like one issued by King Samudragupta way back in the 4th century CE. This is what we call a numismatic source. From just one single tiny coin, historians can decipher the metal content to gauge the strength of the economy, read the inscriptions to trace political boundaries, and even observe the art style to learn about the culture and trade routes of an entire civilization. पुरानी चीज़ों से हमने कितनी गहरी जानकारी मिलती है, it's just amazing.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Why Social Science Matters.
So why go through all this immense effort to study digital maps or dig up ancient coins? Well, because समाज को समझना आपको एक जागरूक नागरिक बनाता है. Understanding society actively prepares you to participate responsibly in civic life. Look, in a democracy, you are not just a spectator sitting on the sidelines, you have a very active role to play. When you hear about massive shared challenges, things like environmental protection, urban growth, or public health, social science gives you the exact analytical tools you need. Not just to react, but to ask really informed questions about the root causes and to seek out logical, practical solutions. It genuinely empowers you to be a responsible, active participant in your own community.
We're going to wrap up this explainer with a pretty thought-provoking question for you. Aapke aaj ko kisne aakar diya? How do past decisions actually shape your present reality? You see, social science is ultimately the story of us. It's connecting our past, our present, and our future. By understanding how the choices of our ancestors built the very world we woke up in today, we become so much better equipped to make wiser choices for the world of tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now go out there, observe the changes happening in your own locality, and start connecting those dots.